Good evening, 12s, and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast, where we look at the Seahawks from every angle every week. I'm Candace Higgins,
And I'm Tino Ganasius.
and we are back to discuss the NFL schedule drop, the release. There's been a lot of matriculation rumors coming out, but it's officially been released by the NFL. We now know the Seahawks official schedule. I mean, we always know the away opponents, the home opponents, that sort of thing. But now we have the order, and we'll make predictions for you right here as we just got this information. So it's pretty much live reaction from us. But first, Tina, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Fresh cut, I see.
once in a while. It used to be once a week back in the day. Now it's like every 3 weeks or so. But we still got to get to the barbershop. I also miss, no slander against my barbershop here, but when I was living in Chicago or living in Seattle, the barbershop experience was a little bit different, and I miss that. Right? It was basically cut other people up or get cut as far as throwing words around and chopping it up with people. But yeah, it's something I miss. Anyways, I'm good. I'm good. I think just hanging in there, given the current kind of situation around us, but yeah, holding on to sports and baseball and football especially keep me engaged and keep me with stuff to do and being happy. So I'm good. I can't complain. I can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's been a little bit of a dry spell. The first teaser of just how I don't know, few and far between news will be, after that
Mhm,
draft. But
mhm,
I'm excited to have some news coming in.
for
And
sure.
speaking of news, you messaged me something that I thought was interesting, and that is the official contract details of
Hmm.
Sam Darnold's contract. So I want to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about that, what we think it means for the team in the future, and then
Hmm.
we will get to the moment I'm sure you guys are waiting for, and that's the schedule release.
So basically, what we learned is that, and I think we knew this to a certain extent before, but Sam Darnold's contract is a year-to-year contract, similar to the structure that Geno Smith had when he was with the Seahawks. That 37.5 is fully guaranteed in 2025. Then he'll be owed 27.5 and 26 and 35.5 and 27. But they can, I believe, before the Super Bowl, um, they get the 2026 17.5 of the 2026 salary is guaranteed for injury at signing. So same as I think Russell Wilson had, I believe, where there's a certain amount of money you get the next year if you get hurt. However, um, I believe that they can let him go before the Super Bowl without penalty. Um, or it was no, I think there was a cap hit. I can't find it here. But anyways, the idea is that it's a year-to-year contract. And
Yeah.
so in practice, what that is, if he's booty like I think he might be, then the Seahawks can, maybe it's Jalen Milroe, maybe they bring in another veteran that's available in 26. But for our purposes, it's a year-to-year contract, and I think that does change a little bit of how I feel about Sam Darnold with the Seahawks. I think I'm a little more comfortable with the fact that they're not fully invested in him and we're not tied to him in a year. Let's say the defense is top 5 next year and the offense is just so mediocre that they either don't make the playoffs, which I think I won't give anything away yet, but either they don't make the playoffs or they squeak in and get knocked out in the first round. Then we've got to try to adjust that offense. We can get out of Darnold and make this offense different with the top 5 defense if we have to, right? I'm hoping Darnold is good. I just don't know that that's going to be the case. So I find it interesting. I'm excited, more excited about the Darnold signing now, knowing that we can get out of it without penalty.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say I'm excited about it. I think it's interesting for a different reason. Actually, I think it's interesting because um, I think the way, especially if that was similarly offered to Gino, I think that's why he's for the trade. I think it's
Mhm.
exactly. I think he had an issue with there. I think, especially after hearing the Pete Carroll interview today on the
Mhm.
Broadcast Talk Show. I don't know if you listened to that, but I was able to listen to a little bit of that. Based on that, Gino's a Pete guy through and through, which we sort of suspected, but Pete pretty much confirmed. And John seems to continue to be on the edge, and I think Gino just didn't want to continue to. He wanted to play for the guy that he felt like
Mm,
believed in him.
yeah,
I wonder if that's strictly a Gino thing, or if Sam Darnold's. I just wonder how that affects Sam Darnold in the sense of that obviously he agreed to it, which means he just didn't have the market for better.
right,
It's good for the Seahawks, but I just wonder from a confidence standpoint, you want your quarterback to have confidence. I don't know if that bodes well to setting this off on the best start, but like you said, if it doesn't work out well, then you can get out of it.
right.
I just would love a little bit of quarterback stability. Maybe I'm just a little bit more for that. Like
Mm,
I like having. I kind of like a 2-year window of knowing what you will have at that position,
sure.
and particularly because Jalen Milroe is so raw.
Mm.
I think he needs 2 years. Like that's sort of my thought. Like I really I don't feel comfortable about putting Milroe out there, even if he
I,
looks phenomenal in spurts
I
this
don't
year.
know if we know. I don't know if we know how long he'll need for one. For two, I don't need 2 years of stability if you're good, right? Like if you're boo boo, I don't want 2 years. I want one. The other thing is for with his confidence, man, you're an NFL quarterback. Like if you go out there and maybe I'm just getting old, but like go out there and be good. And if you're not good, you're not good. Be confident you're going to be good. Who cares what anybody else thinks? And just do your thing, right?
I think
And
that works for every other position but quarterback. I think you're right for every other position but quarterback in the modern NFL.
well, I think you need if he has good coaching, and he really is going to boil down to protection. We've said that before, right?
Yeah,
But if he has protection and he has decent coaching, then you got nothing to worry about. Just go out there and do it, man. And I feel that way about all jobs. Like you have to there are other factors, right? There's like how are you supported by your home life, how are you supported by your peers, is your boss, a good teacher, all those things, but ultimately it's on you. And so Darnold, as an experienced quarterback in the NFL who's played in different systems, who's now what, 27, 28 years old, man, I ain't worried about Darnold doesn't have confidence at this point, especially after his success last year. That's on him for me. um
yeah, I can't quite say that given that last year was his first year of success, so I think it's easier. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. It's not like he's got a long history of
No, no, no. Certainly, he
being
certainly
with
doesn't.
stable organizations and having good coaching. He comes from a
Yes,
long line of broken Jets quarterbacks,
yes.
and
But
those guys tend to need a little fixing.
yeah,
Um,
but you don't want to be paying 37.5 for a dude that doesn't have any confidence, right?
I
Like,
didn't say he doesn't have any confidence. I just
right,
wonder
or
how that
less.
impact. Correct. I didn't say it's 0 to
Sure.
100. Obviously, it's more nuanced than that.
Right.
But I just wonder, how that affects his mindset and how he plays. You know what I'm saying in
For
terms of
sure.
hero ball that
For
can
sure.
manifest itself out on the field in multiple ways. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Is he going to feel the pressure
Yeah.
of having essentially a 1 year
Correct.
deal and take too many risks?
Correct.
Or
That's exactly
the
what I'm
flip
saying.
side might be, is he going to feel the pressure and knowing that the interception number dictates in a lot of ways how much money he might make. If
Yep.
he's a what's it called, like a caretaker of the offense, right? If he's just there to execute the offense, they don't take risks, and yeah, a game manager, and he does well at it, there's money for him down the road on some team that wants to control the ball and has a good defense like the Seahawks, right? But you're not a good game manager if you throw picks.
Yep.
And so, is he going to be willing to take the risks, or is he going to try to be a hero, right, and play hero ball because he wants to put up numbers and take stupid chances and throw into double coverage and try to zip it over the middle when the window's not there and that sort of thing, and and play poorly. I think that is a very good point that you made about that in particular.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's, for me, that's, maybe it's just semantics, but that's different than confidence. Confidence to me is like just belief in yourself. And I think belief in yourself is different than trying to prove something in a 1 year deal. And I do think that his play, and to your point, I do think his play in a 2-year deal might look a little bit different year one,
Right.
right? With the security of that second year, he might just actually genuinely try to execute the offense, knowing he's going to be there for 2 years.
Right.
So it is very interesting. And also you've got Milrow, who yes, he's a third round pick, but you better believe in those, in practice and in camps, Milrow's going to be impressive to everybody. That's the kind of dude you see him throw the ball forever, right? You see him throw a pretty deep ball. You see him run as fast as he does. The team is likely going to rally around him because he's, for all intents and purposes, everything I've heard is he's an incredible leader. He's
Yes.
incredibly smart. He's incredibly he buries himself in the X's and O's and the book work and everything else that comes along with being a football player and a quarterback. And so the team's going to love him. You already know that.
Yep.
So you wonder, is it is his presence on this team going to impact Darnold at all?
Yep.
Which I think is a good segue into the schedule.
Yep. Yep. Because
Um,
I think it impacts it some. I really do. That's kind of that's as part of where my head was going and how these things are connected. I think it impacts either the ceiling or the floor. I really don't know which one,
right.
honestly. But I would be surprised if it had little to no impact. But like you said, definitely want to get in the schedule. Real quick,
Mhm.
want to shout out Syjan, say what's up, 12s. What's up?
Yo, what up? What up?
Yeah, what's happening? Good to see you. Thanks for listening in.
Joe.
Um, but yeah, so excited to get into the schedule. I think what we're going to do is go week by week, sort of give our predictions. I have not tallied up, and sort of I'm giving everything for me, with really,
Mhm.
really, really live reaction. So you sort of get through my thoughts as I think through these games in real time. But let's get in. All right, so week one,
Mhm.
Seahawks are at see
No,
Seahawks
hosting
hosting.
the
See,
Niners.
schedule.
Huh?
Hmm. Yeah, okay.
Hosting.
I'm looking at the NFL. It says I'm gonna anyway. I'll pull it up a different source. All right, Niners hosting the Niners.
Mhm.
This is really interesting
Mhm.
to me. It's not often that the Seahawks face divisional opponents week one, especially the 49ers.
Right.
Um, the 49ers are such a weird team to me. Like
Mhm.
they're aging for sure. I think that's undeniable. They have
Yep.
this ceiling of what they could be, but they just got rid of a lot of players. They're like short on cash. And so you know, there's a possibility that they could bounce back completely. And I don't think anybody would be surprised if, with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, if this team came out strong and balling. Also,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they like fell on their face either, especially in
Mhm.
week one. I do think I would have rather seen them later in the year, where injuries could
Mhm.
play a bigger factor for them. But what say you?
I,
What are you thinking about this game?
so I think first reaction is you look at their drafts. Michael Williams, number 11 overall, D end out of Georgia, just a beast, huge dude, 6'7", right? Like that pterodactyl type D end. Um, and then they picked a D tackle and they took another D tackle later. Like it was very clear that they're trying to get back to the old 49ers of like truly controlling the line of scrimmage, right?
Right.
And I think philosophically they're trying to do that. They lose Debo Samuel to the Commanders. Um, I think that there's a lot of question marks with this team for me. Trent Williams is another year older. McCaffrey's been hurt and is getting up there in wear and tear for
Right.
a running back. George Kittle is older, just signed a contract extension, but is older. I still have questions about Purdy. I'm not sold on Purdy. And I think that they're also, if they don't sign him to an extension, you're going to have questions about Purdy's contract the entire year, which could be held over the team.
Right.
And a player like Michael Williams, while he's uber talented and it's a physical freak, you don't know if the D end is going to play great year one. Look at what Byron Murphy did in the middle. Like there were flashes of brilliance from him, but overall he was not great, right?
Mhm.
He didn't grade out perfectly. We know there's potential. So is Michael Williams going to make the difference on this team year one? He could, but I think there are a lot of question marks, which leads me to the Seahawks and what what does this game look like week one? I think that this is when the teams are. I think they're pretty evenly matched still.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
and I don't know what to say about the Seahawks until they we know what's going on the offensive line. And so a lot of the schedule to me is predicated on does the other team have a pass rush, right? And what's the are the Seahawks going to do anything else on the offensive line? So to me, it's a win. It's a win because they're at home. It's a win because I think this defense is for real, right? This defense is going to keep us in a lot of games.
Mhm.
The way they lose this game to me is if the offensive line can't hold up, right? Can't block Nick. So Michael Williams comes out and is a house of fire week one. Um, you know, Fred Warner makes big plays because he can roam because the guards and the fullback, if we have one, can't get to him in order to block him. Right? It's there are a lot of. I don't think that San Francisco is going to score a lot of points, but to me, this comes down to can the offensive line control the line of scrimmage? I think they do just enough, and I think the crowd is going to be nuts week one to play the Niners at home week one. To me, this is a win. I don't feel great about it, but I gave them a W for against the Niners in the opening game.
Thinking through it, um, I think I've got this as a loss. Now you could talk me into a win, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm by no means confident about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think about a couple factors. Like you said, it comes down to the offensive line. Pretty much what they did was add rookies.
Mm-hmm.
So week one, that does not give me the best confidence. I think there will be a learning curve. There is for most interior offensive linemen and frankly offensive linemen in general. Most don't come out of the gate as stars unless you're Creed Humphrey, and we blew that. So I factor that in. I also factor in that they do have Robert Saleh back, and I think they're banking on
Mm-hmm.
that. They pretty much gave him an arsenal of an entire draft since they weren't
Mm-hmm.
interested in drafting offensive linemen themselves of players to mold and craft. Now, yes, they are rookies too, but they've got plenty of great veterans that will know how to attack our younger, inexperienced players. um, I think the 49ers games were some of Oluwatimi's worst games. I don't think that's a particularly great matchup for him. We know what
Mm-hmm.
happens, like you say, you don't get the protection. I actually am not so confident in the home field advantage. That has been an issue for the past few seasons, home games, particularly 49ers home games, where they just travel to see the
Right.
Seahawks. Now, Seahawks did make an effort to try to combat that with their season ticket holders. So they're
Yep.
trying, and we'll see how that works. Week one, we'll
Yep.
have no idea.
Yep.
But I'm actually not, weirdly, I feel better about this team on the road at this point until they can figure out their home issues. So I've got it as a L, but I'd love nothing more to be wrong. For sure. I hate losing to the 49ers.
Yeah. I think the fans will come out, and I know they've been making. I know the team made comments about um, season ticket holders not selling their tickets to other folks, and I don't know how you hold people accountable to that necessarily, but I know
They
they're
said
trying.
they have a ticket exchange or something like that.
Got it. I think all those things are great, but and your point is well taken about young players on the offensive line. Um, but and we also don't know what this new scheme is going to look like, right?
Right.
If hopefully, if you're a good coach or a good manager, a good leader, you know that your line is going to have probably one second year guard and it's going to have one rookie guard and it's going to have a center that is, slightly below average at best. And so if you're going in with that kind of line and that kind of inexperience, to me, simplify the blocking scheme, right? You're not giving them everything all at once. You're saving something for the Niners later as well.
Right.
Simplify the blocking scheme and allow them to be athletic instead of trying to overthink everything. I think that there's things that you can do to set your team up to succeed, even if they are young. Will the Seahawks do that? I don't know. Um,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're good.
No, I'm just gonna say real quick. I agree with you. I just think that it's a bit of a disadvantage since Robert Sala goes against this kind of offense all the time. Um, I agree with you in principle, but it could be difficult to simplify against a very experienced coordinator in this offense in particular. That could be
And Sala is worth something. I think honestly this is like a 13-10, bloodbath sort of game.
Yeah,
14-10,
defense. Yeah.
14-7, defensive play scores the winning touchdown,
Mhm.
something like that. I don't see this as of course now it's going to be like 42-37 or something like that, but
That's
I don't
surprising.
I see this as a win in a but a very close game.
Yeah, low scoring. Yeah. Okay.
Week 2, Seahawks travel to Pittsburgh to
10 a.m. game.
play, yep, DK Metcalf, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't know who the Steelers quarterback is going to be yet. It could be Mason Rudolph. It could be Aaron Rodgers. Nobody really knows. They had a chance to take Shador Sanders a whole bunch of times. They didn't. They took Derek Harmon in the first round, D tackle out of Oregon. Very, very good, impact player. They're always going to have, those Steeler kind of tough, mean, big dudes on the defensive line. They took Caleb Johnson, who might actually end up their starting running back. Um, out of Iowa. Jack Sawyer, who I got to know very well because he's an Ohio State D end in round 4. So some interesting guys in the draft. They're in a similar boat to the Seahawks, right? Where I think their team is pretty good overall, talent wise. The team's pretty good. You've got TJ Watt, you got DK Metcalf. Um, but Fryermuth at tight end, but you don't know who your quarterback is. If you're going this late into the offseason without knowing who your quarterback is, you're relying on either Aaron Rodgers to come in, pick up the offense immediately, and be decent, which he hasn't been in a long time,
Right.
or Mason Rudolph, who's like a bottom 5 starting quarterback in the NFL, might be the worst.
Kind
Um,
of worse.
that said, I I respect Mike Tomlin so much. I think Mike Tomlin continuously wins without the best talent. I think that he's an incredible coach. He's probably my favorite coach in the NFL for a bunch of reasons. And I just I think the Seahawks traveling to Pittsburgh, playing a Mike Tomlin coach team, to me this is a loss. And I think the Seahawks will have a shot in this game because I think they're probably the better team and they have the better quarterback. But regardless of whether it's Rodgers or Randolph, but I just think Tomlin and the travel early in the season is makes it a uphill battle for the Seahawks. So to me, again, another low scoring game. I think that this is a Seahawks loss to me.
I actually I'm gonna go win. I think this is a win. I think this is a win.
We really are the football version of the mismatch, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I think so. I think so. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at this, and for all the reasons why, kind of you said,
Mhm.
I think it's a win. I do think that this team has the better quarterback, or a quarterback for one.
Mhm.
Um, I think that plays quite a bit into it. I feel a little bit better about that our defense,
Mhm.
Seahawks defense against that offense. I feel tremendous about that. I understand that the Steelers have a very good defense, but I also know they're kind of an aging defense at this point. Um,
Mhm.
and I know I not that is not to disrespect Mike Tomlin. I think all the points about that are very valid, but I just think that the Seahawks are the better team. I think they killed it in 10 a.m. games, with or without Mike McDonald. Like under Pete Carroll, under McDonald. I think last year we only have 1 year sample size, right? So we'll see. But
Mhm.
he, I think he won almost all those games at 10 a.m. Whatever they do to prepare, it works.
Mhm.
And I think traveling
You do it well.
across the country in the beginning of the season is always
Mhm.
preferable to me. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't think that's as big a factor at this point in the season as maybe
Mhm.
other people might put into it. And frankly, give me Tariq Woolen over DK. Sorry, I think Tariq might win actually. As they've had some
I
interesting battles in camp, and I think as though it's always been back and forth. I know DK is out for it, but without a quarterback to really throw to,
Right.
and DK
Right.
struggles with high contested catches, and he struggles when you sort of uh smother him a little bit and kind of
Mhm.
play into the physicality he likes to play through.
Mhm.
Maybe DK wins, but yeah, give me Reek Willing.
I think you're right about that though, because he, if we know if you can reroute him at all, his routes are so, rounded off and not crisp that we've seen, Gino, two or three of Gino's interceptions last year were DK's responsibility. You can
Hmm.
also get him to commit penalties,
Yep.
personal foul penalties, that sort of thing. So the other part is if I know he's going to be highly motivated against the Seahawks, we all know
Right.
that. He's also not going to have a quarterback to throw him the ball. But the
And
big
he
thing to
left.
me is right if
He left.
if the Seahawks, he's still going to use it as a chip. But if the
Yeah.
Seahawks, if anyone's going to know his weaknesses, it's this Seahawks team,
Hmm.
right? And so they're going to know how to defend him and what's going to work and what's not. Um, so yeah, I think this Pittsburgh team is still Pittsburgh. They're still a 500. They're a 500 team if Mike Tomlin's their coach,
Hmm.
and it does not matter who else they have. So I don't know. It's maybe I believe too much in home field advantage, but I think both of the first two games are, kind of the home team gets the slight advantage and wins.
Fair. Fair. All right. All right. So from there, they're going back home against the New Orleans Saints.
Hmm.
Um,
So the
that's not
Saints are interesting because Kellen Moore, now their coach, right? Former offensive coordinator in I think Dallas and in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken.
mhm,
Um, former left-handed quarter. He's actually from about an hour and a half away from where I live. He's from Prosser, and I'm in Walla Walla. But left-handed quarterback, noodle arm, but a good quarterback. Boise State back in the day. Um, so new coach, offense should be interesting at this. That's why he was hired. But then Derek Carr retires.
right.
And now Tyler Shugg, your boy, is probably going to be their starting quarterback. You have Spencer Rattler still, who I think is decent. Then they go get an offensive tackle, Kelvin Banks out of Texas, the first round. Then Shugg in the second round. But this is a very much a rebuilding team. They're also, I think, the third worst cap situation in the NFL in terms
Yeah.
of how much over the cap they are.
Right.
So we're going to see some big moves, some big names not on this team next year. I think they tank. I think that Shug is they're going to see what they have with him, but say he's not that good, or say he takes a long time to develop, they may be in position to draft an Arch Manning. I'm sure they're angling for Arch Manning, right? Archie Manning being from New Orleans, playing for the Saints, all those things. That's probably what's in their mind. Um, so if of course the Seahawks would lose to a team like this at home, right? That's the Seahawks mo. But this has to be a win. This has to be it's a disaster if they don't win this game at home against the Saints with a rookie second round quarterback and a brand new head coach and not a lot of talent. It's a win for the Hawks for me.
Win for sure. I'm not gonna say it's a disaster in week 3, but I understand your sentiment for sure. Um,
Disaster.
it's not
Absolute
gonna be a
disaster.
disaster, man. Not gonna be a disaster. I think it's too early in the season to be a disaster, and I think some teams come out hot and fade out. I think being this early in the year, I think you'll get the best of what they have to offer. It's a new head coach. He's going to want to make an impression. He's going to want to have a winning culture. So the whole tanking thing, I don't think probably happens to after their bye week or something. um, I have it as a win. I agree with all the points you made.
Mm.
I just think it's a little much for them to overcome, and I'm not as worried about. Uh, Not that Saints fans don't travel; they do, and they have a very passionate fan base. But far, it's a far ways. We
And
haven't
it's
normally
and it's
had,
cold, and it's
yeah,
cold. It's on the West Coast,
we
and
haven't
it's
normally
still
had
how do you culturally it's a little different.
right.
There are a lot of in a lot of different ways. So I
Yeah,
agree. I don't know. You might get a smattering of New Orleans fans, but you're
yeah.
not going to get. They're not traveling deep. Let's just
Yep.
say that
I think I'm not really worried about the home field advantage at that point, and so
it's not the
so
Niners.
then so then yeah, not the Niners. So I've got it as a W. Not too much
Hmm.
to get into that. It's just too much to overcome a rookie head coach and
Right.
rookie quarterback. Even though I know Chuck's experience, he's experienced in college, but it's a different game. Um, and they didn't give him anything to work with. I think Mike McDonald came in a much better situation, like you said,
Yes.
to really build this team and make it his own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough job he's got. He was the last hired, right? Well, I think they were waiting on him. So I was gonna say it was like the job
It's
nobody wanted, but
I think it's a good hire. He's talented, he's smart, and he'll make that offense interesting. It's just, are they going to give him the pieces to be able to
that's
do
what I
it?
mean. I don't mean to insinuate he's not going to be a good coach. We don't know. I mean to insinuate
Mm,
in terms of situation. I thought the Saints was probably one of the worst ones, and I remember he was the last one to get hired, but that had more to do with the Super Bowl in that they were
right.
waiting for him, and actually the situation. Though the situation is still probably one of the worst of the jobs that were available.
Pretty dire.
Yeah, pretty
So
well.
the Hawks then turn around and travel to Arizona for a Thursday game. And, I think that's always brutal, right?
Yeah.
On players' bodies. That's where your depth has to show up. That's where you're going to see some second stringers play more because of injury and all sorts of other things. And Arizona looks to be very improved. Arizona went out. Their defense was bad, right? We talked about last year how the front seven was names that really you only know if you played Madden, right? Or you live in Arizona is bad. They went out and signed Calais Campbell, who is, I think, 38 years old or close to it, but a
Mhm.
great leader, still country strong. They went out at a Sweat, the D end from the Eagles, to bolster their pass rush. Those two additions are, I think, better than what they had. They're not, they wouldn't make me super excited as a Cardinals fan, but they're better than what they had. But then they drafted 16 overall Walter Nolan, incredible athlete, former 5-star recruit, went to Texas A&M, was like, I think he's a top ranked player in that class, goes to A&M, transfers to Ole Miss, and is really athletically talented, right? He was a player that was rumored to go in the top 10. Then they take Will Johnson, second round corner out of Michigan, who I think is the most talented corner outside of Travis Hunter in this draft. He just had injury issues. So if he ends up being really good, you're talking about a potential like Pro Bowler in Will Johnson. Then they took a D end out of Oregon. Then they took a linebacker out of Ohio State. So they recognized the fact that the defense wasn't good. You get year two of Marvin Harrison Jr., which I think he's going to be a lot better. James Conner doesn't look to be slowing down. Kyler Murray has matured quite a bit. They have a ton of high draft picks on their offensive line. I think this is a team on the upswing, personally. So I think the Seahawks travel to Arizona and lose in this game. I don't think that Arizona is a better team. Necessarily, again, same tune. It's good team, not a great team. Seahawks are a good team, not a great team. They have the better quarterback. You're traveling to their stadium. To me, this is a loss.
I'm gonna put a loss, but I disagree with a lot of the hype the Cardinals get. Everybody loved the Cardinals last year too, and they weren't that
No, they weren't
particularly.
that good.
I
Mm-mm.
just don't believe in Kyler Murray, and
Really,
I think Mike McDonald. I just I think it's what was he year 7 now? Is that right? Has he
Murray?
ever really shown up
No,
in a big
it's got to be
moment,
5 or
meaningful?
6.
I know that Hail Mary, but literally other than that, when I just I don't really believe in him. I don't. And now it's
Okay.
early in the year, so part of my not believing him is the fact that he seems to get hurt against us for some reason, or at least nicked up. Like he doesn't exit the
Well,
game, but it
he
tends
gets
to
hurt all
make
the
us
time.
play the rest of the games.
He gets
um,
hurt. He gets hurt all the time.
I that's part of it. I don't think the defense is enough to scare me, especially early in the year.
Sure.
I think that those are better. I think their draft bodes well for a stronger end to the year than a beginning to the
Mhm.
year. Could be
Okay.
wrong, but um, I just see a learning curve there, personally.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I don't. I just I'm going to put a
So
loss, but the only reason I'm putting a loss is because it's a short week. I
sure.
believe that the defense might have figured out Kyler Murray. He's really struggled in these Mike McDonald matchups. Uh,
Hmm.
Mike McDonald kind of seems to have him figured out. They didn't. Him rushing, his scramble ability is what makes him a threat. It's what makes him scary, or but borderline. I don't
He's
know. I'm
he
not gonna.
his well his arm. He also has tremendous arm talent, though, right? He is a tremendous passer. It's just can you get him in a situation where he's can get the ball to them because he's so short, right? His windows look different. His
Yep,
drop back looks different. And so, yeah, I think the threat, he does have that threat of running, but I think his arm talent is underrated. And he's also had some really bad receivers for a long time, or no names, I guess is a better way to put it.
I was told Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be the truth. That's what I was told. Um,
He was for that one game where he had 3 touchdowns. He won me that fantasy matchup. But well, they also have Trey McBride, right? And Trey McBride is a
right, yeah.
top 5 tight end in the NFL.
I
Um,
think the defense is kind of built to stop tight ends, and I think the way that they coach the defense sort of
mm,
takes away the strengths of Kyler Murray. Like, I'm not saying he can't throw the ball. I'm not saying Kyler Murray has a noodle arm or anything like
right,
that. I just think when
right.
you take away that threat, that's what when we've lost to Arizona in the past, it's been because Kyler was able to make magic and the
He
Seahawks
gets
defense
loose.
could do nothing to stop it. That
Right,
wasn't an issue at all.
right,
When we've played Kyler against Mike McDonald. And
right.
so
This isn't. It's also not. It's not Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks chasing him,
yeah.
right? This is different, right? This
Right.
is Ernest Jones. It's Witherspoon in the slot. It's you've got more athletes chasing him around, which
Hmm.
changes the calculus a little bit for sure.
Yep.
So I
And we
think
got
a part of it is scheme and part of it is athletes.
Yep. This wouldn't surprise me. I know I'm giving all the reasons why I think they should win because I think in my
Mhm,
heart they should win, but I won't underestimate that travel on a short week. I
mhm,
won't do that. I want them to win. I think they have. If this was a full week, it will be 100% win for me.
right.
Um, I've got them with 2 wins ahead, so I'll be realistic and say at some point that I'd be surprised if they won three straight. Well, I don't know. I'd be surprised. I don't know if they'll win three straight. I'm not confident enough in Sam Darnold to say that. So I'll put an
Mhm.
L here, but in my heart, I want it to be a W.
Okay. I'm 2-2 as of now. They
Okay.
host Sunday, October 5th, host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield. Normal 105 start. Tampa Bay last year went 10-7. They drafted Emeka Abuka, wide receiver, Ohio State, round one. I think that's super interesting because they also re-signed Chris Godwin. They have Mike Evans. You now have 3 talented receivers for Baker to throw the ball to. Bucky Irving proved to be a really good running back for them last year, 1,000-yard rusher out of Oregon. Um, Defense, in Tampa Bay defense has been decent. With that scheme, you got a defensive head coach. Um, all those things are great. I think this is a win for the Seahawks, though. Again, another team that I look at and I say different strengths than the Seahawks, but probably equal talent, right? Todd Bowles is a good coach, not a great coach in my mind. I
Mhm.
think that's where Mike McDonald is as of right now.
Yep.
But you're at home. You got a team traveling from the Southeast, coming to play in Seattle, unfamiliar territory. The only thing is they've got an experienced quarterback with some weapons, and so that defense is going to have to cover against the Buccaneers. But to me, this is a win.
Yeah, I would agree. I agree. I like I'm happy with Baker's development, happy for and his success. I am confident enough in Sam Darnold to say I think in a matchup with home field advantage that our team will win. It pretty much comes down to being that simple because I think, like I said, this team is pretty evenly matched, so it could also easily go the other way. Um,
Yep,
but I think it'll be a good game, so I'm excited to see it for sure.
me too. Week 6, Seahawks travel to Jacksonville, Florida. 10 o'clock start. Trevor Lawrence and the gang. Travis Hunter will be really fun to watch in this game. Um, what say you about the Seahawks matchup against Jacksonville?
I wish it was a little later in the year. It might still be a little hot for them in October,
Mhm.
in Jacksonville, but I think I gotta go W. Really hard for me to see. Now I will say that they've got some weapons. Like they put
Mhm.
Trevor Lawrence in a good position with Travis Hunter, with
Brian
Brian
Thomas
Thomas
Jr.
Jr., with um, I'm blanking on who else they have. I know those are the top two dynamic weapons. So
Well,
they're
they
got
got
quarterbacks
ATN
with
as the
this.
running back. You know, they
ATN still the running back that they did not.
no, is he a free agent? He might be a free agent this year. But they have that running back out of Auburn who played well last year too. Um, they've got some players. They're not the thing with them is they always feel like they have talent, but they're not any good, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
It's
they
because
have a
of Trevor.
talented team, but they don't win. Yeah, I'm not a Trevor fan either. Problem
It's because of
is,
Trevor.
the problem is he's so talented in some ways. He could just be great all of a sudden, right? He's got that kind of talent. He's just not right now. Not my favorite dude. I'll say that right now. That I don't love him. Yeah, it's ATN Tank Bigsby is the one I was thinking of. Um,
But they
who
weren't really much of anything last year together. I mean, it's kind of like a
Bigsby has some good
as someone who had
Bigsby
Tank
has some good
Bigsby
Bigsby
and
has some good games. Bigsby has some good games.
not with me.
Um, but
I
they're
picked the wrong one.
but you look at their defense, right? And it's they've got some names, but it's not a this is not a very good team. This is not a very good team. Seahawks should win this game. If the
I,
Seahawks are going to play, not play down to the level of the other team, if they're going to
yeah,
play to the level of their talent, and the coaching is going to be, bulletproof, may not be great, but it's they're not making mistakes. This should be a W for the Hawks.
does the travel not take into effect much for you? It does for me a little
Um,
bit more in
it
Tampa.
does. I just think Jacksonville's trash. I don't think that they're. I don't think that. I
Trash.
don't unless Hunter is a superstar out the gate. Um, But and they've been through a lot of transition, right? They've had a ton of head coaches. They
Yeah,
had a
culture.
head coaching change last year. There's just a lot of stuff about this team that doesn't culturally doesn't feel right.
Hmm.
And Lawrence isn't a leader, right? Your quarterback who you just gave a monster contract to isn't a leader. So
Right.
where's the leadership coming from?
Yeah.
You added Hunter, and Hunter might be a game breaker. The one interesting thing is it's a new GM, and the GM is as trying to establish a culture. He made the move to move up top for Hunter that everybody loves, and there is from 5 to 2, and there is something to be said for that, right? There's some
Yeah.
bravado with that. There's some leadership with that. So maybe it's changed. Until it's changed, that's a win for me. They shouldn't be losing to no Jacksonville.
Fair
They
enough.
really shouldn't. They really
Fair enough.
shouldn't. So week 7, Monday
Take
Night Football at home. Houston Texans, CJ Stroud and the gang, national television, crowd should be going crazy.
hmm
If it's for me, they're walking into this game. What? Jacksonville's a win, Tampa's a win, New Orleans a win, San Francisco's a win. They're walking in 4-2, right?
hmm
Probably tied for the lead in the NFC West. We're all
Yep.
excited. How do you think that game plays out?
I think they can win.
Okay.
Maybe it's a homer. Maybe it's a homer take, but like you said, they've got the home field advantage. I do think the crowd will be again. I'm not seeing a ton of Houstonians just taking over the stadium. That would surprise me. I think the home field
Mhm.
advantage will be there. It's a big time game. Probably buzz around the team at that point. Um, I certainly think CJ Stroud is the better quarterback. I think the offensive lines are probably equal. We'll see. Um,
Mhm.
I like what the Seahawks did at that point in the season at week 7. You're starting to get some ground under you, starting to get some experience under your belt for your young guys. Think that things could start to come into form around this time from an offensive perspective. Things could finally begin to click. Sam gets a little bit more comfortable. The
Yep.
defense, I certainly would like our defense. Against their offense and offensive line in particular. I think the line I could see a Boye Mafe or Derek Hall
Right.
making a really big impact there. We'll have Chenna back, and so I don't know exactly know what to expect from that, but
Right.
he would
Well, they
be
lost. They lost Laramie Tunsil too. They traded him,
yeah.
right? So Tunsil's gone, went to Washington, and he was really the only big name. You want to know who their starting left guard is? Do
Is
you know
George
who their
Fant back
starting?
for them?
Even better,
Who?
who's their starting left guard? It's your
I don't
boy,
know.
No, it's
Oh, is it
Shador.
Lincoln Tomlinson? Oh, wow. Absolute
Boy, you
W.
better line up
Gotta
Byron
put it
Murphy against
down.
him. It's gonna be fun, right? But that's where their line is at.
If
Is
he's
they don't
playing by week
they
7.
there's a couple of names, Trent Brown and Cam Robinson, but Robinson's okay. Trent Brown is long in the tooth.
Mhm.
It's CJ Stroud's gonna have to scramble.
Yep.
They have weapons, Mixon, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk. They took uh they took wide receivers high in the draft, so they have some explosion. But I don't know. It surprises me to say it, but I think this is also a win. I
Yep.
think the
I think
Seahawks.
so too.
I think it could be a shootout. I think that there's Houston has some explosiveness, but I didn't love what I saw from Stroud. I don't love Stroud anyways. I'm a Michigan grad, so
Yeah.
obviously I don't. But he wasn't the same quarterback last year as he was in his rookie year. He
No, and I
wasn't. Go
I'm
ahead.
great. No, it's just the offensive line. It's
Hmm. Yep.
offensive line.
So am I really saying they're 5-2 at this point? One, two, three, four, 5-2 at this point. I did not expect to say that. Um, bye week 8. What do you think about the bye coming at that point? Kind of right, pretty much in the middle of the season.
You could do worse. I would like a little bit later. I loved the bye week. Last week was a week 10, 11. I prefer a week 10, 11 type of bye week, but you could
Not
certainly do
complete.
worse.
You won't see me complaining about a week 8 bye, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
you could do worse. I think of the earlier bye weeks, it's nothing crazy.
so then they travel to Washington D.C. to take on Jaden Daniels and the everyone's new favorite team, Washington Commanders. Uh, do they have a chance in this game?
I think they do coming off that bye.
Sunday night game too.
Yeah, I think they do coming off. If
Okay.
this game was scheduled, I think in any other place,
Mhm.
I would say it's a L, scheduled L.
Okay.
But give Mike McDonald an extra week to cook up something against that team, and they're playing at night.
You want to hear something else crazy? So week 8, when the Seahawks have a bye, Monday night, Washington Commanders travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs.
Mm,
So short week in Kansas City against the Chiefs, come back home to play the Hawks. Hawks have this might be a closer game than one might think
yeah,
because of those things. They still get bombed. I'm sorry. I do not like they added I don't love Debo Samuel. They added Debo Samuel. Terry McLaurin is still there. They added Laramie Tunsil as their new left tackle. They're trying to do everything in their power to protect Jaden Daniels and to give him more weapons. To me, that's smart. This defense, Frankie Louvu was the man last year on this defense. They still have big depth on the defensive line. It's a good team. Marshawn Lattimore is now there. Mike Sainer still out of Michigan again, second round pick last year. They played him on the outside, miscast. He's like 5'9". They've got him in the nickel now where he belongs. They seem to be making really smart decisions, in my opinion, really smart decisions about this football team. And I think Jaden Daniels is a superstar. You're if the way I see this is you're going across country, right? You're playing on a Sunday night game where stars tend to or tend to shine, and you're playing. You have Sam Darnold. You're traveling cross country. You have Sam Darnold. They have Jaden Daniels, and I know it's not. They're not directly going against one another, but the rest of the team is also pretty good. They're not winning this game. I'm sorry, they're not winning this game.
I give them more of a chance than you do. I'm gonna put an L because I think it would be homerish of me not to.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe in their ability to still beat this team, and it has a lot less to do with Sam Darnold. And yes, your points are all 100% valid. I just like that McDonald thrives on confusion and deception, and Jaden is a superstar, but he also is still very new to the NFL, and he's not had a ton of exposure to this type of system
Mm-hmm.
defensively. I
Mm-hmm.
think that could be the X. If they win this game, I believe that's the X factor. And if they win this game, they would become a true contender in my mind.
Sure.
It'd be a swing. But that would be the X factor. That would be how they come out on top. That and like I said, at this point, I'm believing that the offense will kind of be clicking a little bit more, starting
Mhm,
to get some continuity there, starting to get
mhm.
some familiarity at that point. And so I think that'll help against the explosiveness of Jaden Daniels. But
Sure.
obviously, I mean, I'm a
So
huge team. I
here's
like the team.
something interesting to think about that just kind of dawned on me when talking about Jaden Daniels. The Seahawks, so you add Eamon Wari to this defense, right? Who we don't know where they're playing him, what they're going to do.
Nickel.
Now you have Eamon Wari, you have a very athletic like edge group, right? That are fast and big. Derek Hall,
Mhm,
Boye Mafe, and
mhm,
Wosun. You add Lawrence to that. You've got linebackers who can run in Knight and Jones, and we all know about this secondary. I guess what I'm getting at is if the athleticism now Jaden Daniels is a beautiful passer,
right.
but when you play against a Daniels or play against a Kyler Murray with the ability to scramble, that's how they tear a lot of teams up. They get first downs with their athleticism, their speed. The Seahawks are gonna might be the most difficult team to do that against. When you
Mhm,
have that type of speed and athleticism, even in the front seven, right? And Eamon Ward also it just adds more to it, more physicality and speed to that group. That takes away one of those superpowers of Jaden Daniels. And so I do think that part of it is interesting. That would be how they might because this secondary can lock up McLaurin and Samuel, has the potential to be able to do that, right? So if you're locking their wide receivers up and Jaden Daniels is trying to scramble by time, those sorts of things, you don't want to scramble against the Seahawks. That's not that's not a good recipe for success. So I could see them being able to hang in there. I still think Daniels wins this game, but the Seahawks. It's just interesting to think about this defense and this talent of the Seattle defense against athletic quarterbacks and how they're going to be able to control some of that in ways that I don't think we've seen. How many
yeah,
times did we see Wagner and Brooks and Kobe Bryant and people like that chasing quarterbacks, chasing running backs, right? That's not who this team is anymore.
mhm,
And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch over the course of the season.
yeah. No, for sure. I definitely that's where my thought is. I'm gonna keep it a L,
Okay.
but just know I'm on upset alert.
All right. So I'm at 5-3 going into week 10.
Yep.
Are you five
Same.
and three as well?
Yep.
Okay.
That's where. Yep.
So 5-3 going week 10, playing Arizona at home. We've talked about Arizona a bit already. This is a win for me. Again, these teams are pretty evenly matched. I like I like the idea of the team building some momentum. I think the better you are, the more home field advantage you have.
Mhm.
To me, it's a win. They go 6-3. We talked about Arizona a bit
Same.
already. Okay.
Agreed.
So 6-3 going into week 11 at the Rams. Uh, that's an L. They're not. I don't think they're going into LA and winning that game.
I think they absolutely can. I think
So
they
what
absolutely
gives you confidence against the Rams?
can. Maybe I'm
Their
putting too
defense
much
is
stock. No,
good.
I'm not putting too much stock in. I was gonna say I'm putting too much stock in the Mike McDonald defense. I believe in this defense, man. I just do.
Okay,
Matt Stafford may or may not even be healthy around this time of year. We
true.
don't know what we're
That's
gonna get.
true. Jimmy Garoppolo.
But even when they
Well,
did play him, so wait, say that again. What you say?
Jimmy Garoppolo is their backup.
Yeah, if he can play, because like that's still a wild backup to me. Um, but I even when they did play with Matt Stafford, the defense is not why they lost to the Rams. Why they split? I think the Seahawks could have easily swept. But they had a competent offense.
Mm,
The Seahawks could have swept the Rams. That's not how it went. I know ultimately they ended up getting in the playoffs. We did not. I just have always seen these two teams as more evenly matched than people are willing to give it credit for.
mm.
Um,
I think they're evenly. I think the Rams are a little bit better. They got better coach. They got
yeah,
better quarterback if he's healthy. They picked up Devontae Adams, who's still very good. Right now, it's Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua, which is a slower, wide receiver tandem, but really good technicians. You've got an offensive line that has continuity. I think all five are starters that are coming back this year.
Yeah,
Um,
the line's good.
and you have a really underrated defense, right? We tried to poke holes at their defense because they're a bunch of no names going into the season. Jared Verse was a beast and played like a beast. And I think this team is better than we want to give it credit for. Maybe this sounds silly, but for me, maybe it's the uniforms. I don't love the uniforms. I don't love the stadium. Looks cool, but you're not intimidated looking at that team, right? You don't go into LA and play that team in that stadium with those uniforms and think, oh, we're about to get ran over. But it's a good team. And I think their coach is a top five coach in the NFL, and I think he's proven that over time. So I don't know. To me, this is a no. They're 6-4 after this game in my mind.
Yeah, and that's possible. But saying they're a good team isn't a needle mover for me because I believe that the Seahawks are a good team. So I mean,
But who's
they're
playing
both
quarterback? Is
they're both
Milrose? So
not a match.
Milrose already playing quarterback then by this point for you. Is that what you're saying?
Milrow playing quarterback. What?
Yeah, you said it's a good team. You said it's a good team.
It is a good team. I believe in the Seahawks team still. I really do. I really do. I believe in the team. Um,
You riding with Darnold.
enough to think that this. I mean, we have them as 5-3 so far. I mean, you believe this. I think you believe this team is better than even you want to give it credit for.
I think they are all right. You'll
I
like
think
it.
you like the
You'll
names
like it at
around.
the end. No, I think they are all right. They are all right.
I believe in the chemistry that the offensive line could be collecting as we round out to the year. I'm really weary of them in the beginning, but I do think that they figure things out after and around that bye week. Um, I think the line is the key to help to getting the best version of Sam Darnold. He's proven he can do it. I mean, he did just do it. So
With Justin
and
Jefferson,
again,
with
I
Justin
believe
Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a good offensive line, Aaron Jones. Well, yeah, he did it. Like I said before, you could have done it. I could have done it
no, I'm
with
not
that
gonna.
talent.
14-2 is pretty. I think that's hard to deny.
Mm.
Even with all of those weapons, you don't have to go 14-2. So I can't take away. It's not exactly a Brock Purdy situation. I wouldn't say, especially given that they did not have that great of an offensive line. I think the thought process that the Vikings had a good offensive line is it's really wrong, frankly, because they just went and bought a whole new offensive line
They
because they
did.
didn't like it.
Well, so they didn't want to pay Bradbury. Darisaw is an all-pro left tackle. They have talent on that offensive line. The
Bradbury
offensive
has a similar. Bradbury has a similar. He in the end, he's not that much better. I think he's a better name. He's not that much better than Olu in terms of performance last year. It's
okay.
actually pretty comparable because I did look it up.
He was better. He was well. The Seahawks made a run at him. We'll say that much.
They made a run at Fries.
Now they made a run at Bradbury too, was my understanding.
I
He
think that
signed
was.
elsewhere. He signed
I didn't,
elsewhere, but my understanding was they did make a run at him.
they didn't bring him in. They
Maybe
didn't
he
bring him
didn't
in.
want to.
They brought
He
in
might
like
not have
five guys.
wanted. He might not have wanted to come in.
I mean, they brought in like five guys though, so I don't know.
All
I
right.
don't know.
So now you're at what? I'm now at what? 5-3. Five? No, man. I can't. I'm losing track. It's late for
I'm at
me,
7-3.
and
I
I'm
mean,
at
hold on,
six and
wait.
four. Yeah, I'm at six
I'm
and
at
four.
7-4. Wait,
Six and
I'm at
four,
7-2-3. Yeah, 7-3.
and I'm
And
six
you
and four.
got 6-4. Yeah.
Okay. Week 12
All right.
at Tennessee. Week 12. Cam
Somebody.
Ward.
It's
Cam
always
Ward
around
out there running
Thanksgiving, man.
around, acting a fool, playing off schedule. All the things expected from him. He's got Tyler. He's throwing to Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley. Offensive line has a couple of former first round picks. Draymond Jones, friend of ours, weak side linebacker. Cody Barton, inside linebacker for this team. The Seahawks winning in Tennessee.
Did you just hype up Cody Barton?
No, I just said as a former Seahawk.
No.
Cody Barton's trash.
Now he did play pretty
Trash.
well for the Broncos, and
He
I'm like,
was
I didn't think he got to the point where he could.
trash for the Seahawks. I was nervous every time he was in the game. I was nervous. Some
Yes.
running backs about to have 5 yards of separation against that dude every single time. Straight up trash. So week 12, they're going in 7-3. According to your predictions, they're going 6-4 according to mine. Who wins this game? Cam Ward, number one pick, new coach, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, give me Seahawks.
Oh, you also in Memphis. You can't say Tennessee.
I could say, I mean, some would say that's why I would say Tennessee. I don't believe in the Titans. I hate the Titans. I don't believe in them. I'm rooting for Cam Ward, but not that week. He can take a L.
I
It'll
think
be all right.
Seahawks are taking that L.
I
So I think
I
Tennessee wins this one. I do.
um
I can't.
it
I
would make
can't
me
give you
mad.
so
I'd be genuinely angry if they lose this game. I just think the Seahawks are the better team. I know
because you're
Cam
gonna have
Ward
to
is
live
very.
with it. People are gonna talk trash.
You said what?
You're gonna have to live with it because people are gonna be talking trash. That's
No
why.
one roots for the Titans here. I don't know how many times I got to tell you that. People root for the
What are they
Cowboys
rooting
and
for?
the Steelers.
Cowboys?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, almost my entire family is a Cowboys family, actually.
why? What's the connection?
It's America's team.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
it,
There's people.
y'all.
There's people here that are Cowboys fans.
Keep in mind
I
that
work. I work with someone who that her partner had a baby, and her whole family roots for the Cowboys. So I gave her a little Cowboys like onesie for their baby, as a gift. But this is all the way in the Northwest. But Cowboys, yes, you're right. Cowboys fans are everywhere. But I
especially
didn't realize that they were like predominantly Cowboys fans.
it is predominant, yeah, because the Titans franchise is pretty new. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like relatively. So I think a lot of people who before the Tennessee Titans were the Tennessee Titans, they were
Right.
rooting for the Cowboys, the Steelers, the other teams. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Okay.
people just don't switch up. They kind of keep their loyalty. I
Hmm.
probably know like two Titans fans, and one of them is like an uncle. Seriously, I don't know Titans fans. and, and I
That's
live in
so funny.
Tennessee and Memphis. I'm telling you, it's in Nashville. I'm sure it's much bigger, but in
Right.
Memphis, Tennessee, we don't really mess with them like that.
Yeah,
So,
you're not rooting for nothing Nashville.
no,
Yeah.
there's an anti. We see things differently,
Right.
but no, I may try to go to that game though. We'll
That'd be
see.
fun.
It's
That'd
always
be
around
fun.
Thanksgiving. It kills me.
Yeah.
We'll
That'd be
see.
fun. I don't. There's no outside of them having a really really good uh front three on defense. Jeffrey Simmons is a All Pro, right, at D
Yeah,
tackle, and Tavondre Sweat, 365-pound nose tackle that they picked last year, was unmovable in the running game, right? So you've got that. L'Jarius Sneed, former corner, All Pro corner from the Chiefs, is there. You've got some talent on this defense. I think Ward is good, and I think Ward is going to be good. Is he going to be good against the Hawks? Probably not. Um, but I do think the travel eventually catches up to the Seahawks. You're playing an away game the week before against the Rams. I this is a gut feeling. I'm saying L. It's a gut feeling. I can't totally justify it. It's Ward could throw 4 picks against a top 5 Seahawks defense, and it wouldn't surprise me either. But I'm going with an L in this game.
that would make me so upset. I gotta tell you, I really do. I hate losing to the Titans. Something
So
personal.
I'd be 6-5 in my mind and 8-3 in your mind. Is that right?
Yeah, 8-3.
Okay. At home, week 13 against the Vikings. What
L.
say you?
Oh, hold up, hold up. Maybe that was a second. Nah, that's so interesting.
Right? JJ McCarthy,
He could be,
Sam
but
Howell,
I'd rather play them.
Sam, Will
They,
Fries could have been a Seahawk.
I think that offensive line is much improved. I think they've done a lot to.
Darisaw, Donovan Jackson at left guard, Brian Kelly at center, Will Fries at right guard, Brian O'Neill, who's a very good right tackle at right tackle. Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah, I'm not
Hawkinson,
sure we can.
Addison, Jefferson, Aaron Jones.
I'm not
JJ
sure we
McCarthy
can.
should show out against this team or with this team.
I wanted to second guess it, but I think I still really love pretty much almost every aspect of that Vikings team. They just are a really great team. I would say they're a great team. All they need is for JJ McCarthy to just
Be
game manage.
decent. Be
Yeah,
decent.
like if he can just be serviceable,
Mm-hmm.
they could be of sorts like a Brock Purdy type of situation where they have enough
Ooh,
talent around them, you know what I mean, to do
they
well and to
they
succeed.
added They added Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen as well
Yeah,
to that D line. They had Dallas Turner, who they drafted last year to be an edge, who's a tremendous talent. There's talent up and down this team.
yeah. That's why I said that's a great team.
That's an
My
L.
initial instinct was L. I wanted to think about it for a second, but it's still a L. That's like a
That's
scheduled
an
L.
L.
I don't care if they're at home.
That's an L to me. So 6-6 for me, 8-4 for you.
Yep.
Okay. They travel to Atlanta week 14. Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons. Hey, Penix gonna run it up. Penix
Yeah,
gonna run it up for in the name of his mentor Geno Smith. Penix gonna run it up. Penix is the truth. I'm telling
I like
you,
Penix. I like. It's not a question
he's
about
the
Penix.
truth.
I don't know if his health. I don't know if his health
His
in the
health is
NFL
fine.
holds up
His
to
health
this.
is fine. He's not
His health
gonna.
is fine.
He's not gonna be running around. People, this we're talking about something they looked at in the draft. He wasn't hurt last year. He
But he
wasn't
only
hurt.
played 3 games, right?
But he also wasn't hurt at UW.
At
He
UW.
hasn't.
Yeah, I mean that
He
was his
hasn't
first
been
year
hurt.
like not being hurt.
But he's been hurt for 3 years. So we're talking about old. Hey, don't be bringing up old. You know what? Okay.
I'm just
Oh, you're bringing up old. You know what?
I'm telling. All right, okay, we'll see. We'll
No.
see. Uh,
But honestly, that's an L to me. I think Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson are a year better because they're starting to reach their peak at this point, right? Year 3, year 4, year 5, in those ranges, they should be great. The offensive line has to hold up, but this team is capable of putting up a lot of points. And they spent a lot of draft capital on this defense to make it better quickly because they realized it was a weakness. That plus the travel, in my mind, that's a loss for the Seahawks, week 14 at Atlanta.
I'm gonna go win. It's good. It's good. I'm gonna go win. I think that maybe it's just I don't trust. Maybe I need to see Atlanta be good before
Mm-hmm.
I can believe that Atlanta because they've
Mm-hmm.
had all this talent before. I mean, they've got Kyle Pitts. I mean, they just have talent and they don't seem to know how to put it together to make a team.
Mm-hmm.
And they still sort of seem like they have a weird dysfunction vibe going on just with the whole Kirk Cousins situation. It's
Right.
really hard for me to buy into, and it's not because I don't think Penix. I think Penix is better than Sam Darnold, but I think our defense is better than Atlanta. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm gonna lean on Mike McDonald in the defense, even I mean Penix could have a great year, but again, if I feel like our defense can shake up Jay Daniels, I surely feel like it can shake up Michael Penix.
Sure.
Um,
Penix isn't gonna. Penix is a. He's not a statue. He ran whatever it was, a 4.5 or like high 4.4s or whatever it was. But Penix doesn't run. He's a straight up pocket passer.
yeah,
And so I think that in that sense, it's going to be about the pass rush getting home and being able to cover. And that's to me, it's a very different. Um, I think that kind of player might be able, if they can protect, might be able to pass for some yards against the Hawks. I don't know. I think
I like
Atlanta's going
their
to be.
ability
I
to
think that
cover.
offense is going to be good.
I
And then
like their ability to cover. I'm not as sold on the offense as you are. I think it's a ton of talent, but it's almost like a Jaguar situation where they've had talent, and I need to see it. That's probably what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like I need to see it come together for this team to be a
they
winner.
had Desmond Ritter and Kirk Cousins when they
Well, Kirk
had when
Cousins was supposed to be good.
but he
Kirk
wasn't. We
Cousins was
all
better than Geno, I was told.
hey, no, you were told by whom?
By everyone, like
Again,
almost universally.
we get back to this. We all know who says Kirk Cousins is better than Geno Smith. Okay, we don't need to go
Everyone,
there.
no, last season, even Sox fans all had a Kirk Cousins above Geno. For whatever reason, I
Not
thought
me,
it was strange.
not
I
me.
was in the minority though.
I'm just telling you. I have watched Penix when he was at Indiana because of the Michigan connection. For me, Big Ten. I watched him when he was at UW. I watched him last year. I've said over and over again, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. That arm is incredible. And
Yeah,
you give him Pitts, you give him Drake London, you have the threat of Bijan Robinson. This is a very, very, very explosive offense. Can they protect? is going to be the question. I just
Outside of Bijan, it's a bunch of talented guys who have yet to really rise to the
Drake
occasion.
London's been great. Drake London is like junior Mike Evans.
Man, I guess.
Last year, you know what his numbers were last year?
No, I don't actually.
100 receptions, 1,271 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That's Mike Evans territory.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's
That's fair. That's better than I
for a
thought.
23-year-old wide receiver who is 6'4", 213, who's coming into his prime.
I give you that. I give you that
That's a bad man right there. So I
for
don't know.
sure.
I just
Yep,
their defense has question marks. That's why they
a
spent a bunch
ton
of
of
draft
questions.
picks. That's why they spent so much draft capital on their defense. They bring in Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. People thought he would go top 10. They traded back in the first round to take James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. They've got some explosiveness now on this defense that they didn't have. I think this is a good team. This is the kind of team that, again, with the travel, with the early start, they're at home. They should win this game against a slightly above average Seahawks team, in my opinion.
Elite defense matters. I'll leave that there.
Always,
Elite
always.
matters. I
Hey,
think
Google
defense.
offensive line also matters. If they can't run the ball, we're not. The defense won't matter.
I'm not
If
worried
we,
about us running the ball. I know we'll be able to run the ball. I don't have. I genuinely don't have concern as to being able to run the ball. I
with
really
old
don't. Not in this
T Rex arms, Gray Zabel.
offense.
I said with old T Rex arms, Gray Zabel.
That won't be an issue.
Hope not. I hope not.
Well,
Genuinely.
actually, for him, it might be, but I think for the others, it'll be fine.
We're gonna have old.
I think Zabel gives you great pass
Oh,
pro.
hold on. Before we go any further, my boy Jason Hoft, who listens to the podcast, is a Kansas grad, right? He's always saying like rock jock Jayhawk, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
He's in Seattle. He texted me immediately during rookie camp, about his boy Cabeldu and how Cabeldu is going to start at right guard and whoop de whoop. He was a 6th round pick, I think. Just
Able to
pump.
was
He was
yeah,
just
he was
pumping him
sick.
up. You know what my nickname is for Cabeldu?
What?
Cabell don't.
That's not
It's,
original.
it's
Oh,
Cabell don't
that's so
or
lame.
Cabell boo boo, either
Why
one.
would you even tell that joke? Oh, that was such a. Oh, that's a bad look,
Dad
Tino.
joke.
That was a bad joke,
This is
man.
dad joke. Anyways,
Terrible dad joke.
shout out
Awful
Jason
dad joke.
Hoff. Thank you for listening. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Supposedly he was decent in rookie camp. So, week 15, Seahawks come back home,
Colts.
125 start, host the Indianapolis Colts. We do not know if it's Anthony Richardson. Who'd they bring in? They brought in someone to compete with him.
Is it
Somebody good.
Flacco?
No, I thought it was Flacco, but I don't think. Hold on, I should know this, but I don't. I'll look it up real quick.
I won't pretend like I care about the Colts, so I don't.
Daniel Jones, your boy Daniel Jones is who they brought in. That's your boy. Um,
Schedule W.
right? Drafted Tyler Warren, 1st round tight end out of Penn State. They're always trying to be more physical than everybody else. Uh, I think that's a W. Whether it's unless Anthony Richardson figures it out, because he is very talented. If Richardson figures this out and actually blows up this season, then this is a potential loss. In pencil. I'm writing win for the Seahawks against the Colts, week 15.
Does that really happen that way? Does a quarterback who struggles go from being one of the worst to being one of the best?
When
Like,
you
should
have
he
like
have a middle
yes,
tier somewhere?
when you have like 15 starts in college, and if he at this point, this is the point where he's played as many games as like a college 4-year starter. So maybe. I also think that he is such an athlete that it gives him a longer runway to figure out, how to throw the ball essentially, or how to read a defense is better said. I think he's uber talented, and he could flame out or he could get better. A lot of it is, people love him, but there were questions about his work ethic at times. I don't know if those are true or not. Maybe he's refocused. He understands that that regardless of what we think of Daniel Jones, it is a quarterback competition there. I think they brought in Jones for a reason to light a fire under Richardson. So all I'm saying is this looks like a win for me, but I'll hold out a little bit just because Richardson has the potential to be great.
I think Richardson has potential to be great, and I still think it's a W for the
Okay.
Seahawks.
Okay.
Despite that, rooting for Richardson though, I really like that kid.
Me too. Me
I
too.
think incremental. I just think it will be incremental progress, and this is one of the most complex defense in the league. So I'm betting a lot on our defense. I am. Where am
Week
I right now?
week 16. Oh, where are you? I don't know.
I was in
You
my
got them
numbers.
like 15-0 or something like that.
I'm close to that, huh?
The
Rams
eternal
again.
the eternal optimist. I'm at I think I am at what was that 14 games. I think I'm at 7 and no, 8 and 6. No, 7 and 7. I'm at 7 and 7, excuse me.
You're at 7-7.
Hmm. So I got hold on, I got Frisco's or San Francisco's a win, New Orleans is a win, Tampa's a win, Jacksonville's a win, Houston is a win, that's 5. Um Arizona is a win at home, that's 6. That's it. So I got 6 and 8.
So you got them
Seven,
losing.
excuse me, 7 and 7. No, 7 and 7 with the Indianapolis win. 7 and
Okay.
7.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say
500.
you've had them losing every game since.
No, 500.
Jeez, that bye week was terrible for the Seahawks. It was going by you, and they
week
didn't do anything but get fat.
week week 16 Thursday night matchup on Prime against the Los Angeles Rams at home. What say you? Coming off a Sunday game at home for the Rams against the Lions.
Thursday night, short week.
So they play the Lions, physical team, then they
No, they played
host
the
the
Colts.
Seahawks Thursday night.
Oh, the Rams play the Lions.
Correct.
That helps.
It does. And they travel to Seattle afterwards.
Ooh, boy, I got it at L. I'll put an L. I think they'll split. Um, I
I
don't
think
think
Seahawks.
they're not going to sweep the Rams.
I think Seahawks win this.
You
They're
got
at home. It's too.
to.
If I was betting on this game, I would just say between playing a uber physical team and the Lions, shortened week. It's a quarterback that's old and brittle at times. Not brittle in terms of he took tons of hits and was durable when he was young, but he's old. And it's to me this should be a win for the Seahawks, which for me takes them to 8 and 7.
Yeah, that's I'm 10-5 right now.
Okay,
But
so
all your points are right. I would just say I'm worried about Sam Donald in prime time. I do a little nervous about that.
yes,
Um,
a lot nervous.
yeah, he's got to prove he can still do better in that regard.
All right,
Panthers,
week
week 7.
17 at Carolina. That's an L for me.
You got
Bryce
them
Young,
losing to the Carolina Panthers.
yes, different team, better team this year.
Better
With
team, but
yeah,
not better than the Seahawks. Improved team is different than better than the
no,
Seahawks.
okay, improved is what I meant. So Bryce Young played like a number one pick at the end of last year. He was dropping dimes in phone booths, like he was. And they add Ted McMillan, who we went back and forth about. They believe in him. He is if they're right, that is a potential number one, like true number one receiver. They've got Derek Brown in the middle of that defense, who might be the best defensive tackle in football. Right? He is very, very, very good. Signed a huge contract. Um, this team isn't. This team is not bad.
No,
And again, Seahawks travel to Carolina after a game against a division rival. Now Seahawks do have 10 days in between, which helps, right? Because they come Thursday game to a Sunday game. Um, but I think Carolina is good. And I think they're going to be better than people think. Um, and Bryce Young, I think, could be a above average quarterback next season, from what I saw from him uh, at the end of last season.
I think I know what it is. I think you really, I think you might overhype. Maybe we'll see. I think you, when it comes to young quarterbacks, you pretty much put a W by all the young shiny quarterbacks.
Not shiny. I don't. There wasn't a win. It wasn't. So yes, I like Ward. I think, but it wasn't because of
Jaden,
Ward that they were going to beat Tennessee.
Jaden.
Penix 100%. Penix 100%. I think Penix is great. Um, but Young, I legitimately saw from Young, he played really well. I don't like Stroud. I didn't say they were going to beat Houston or Houston was going to win because of Stroud. Stroud is as young as the rest of them.
Well, he lost his
So
shot though.
I think certain quarterbacks, yes, not all young quarterbacks, and it's not because they're shiny. It's because I watch them and I believe in the things that they can do. Bryce Young is a magician when you give him a little bit of space and time,
I
and
still say
he throws balls with some really interesting angles and how they arrive at kind of at the receiver. He's won the national championship for a reason. I like him. I think he's very very good.
yeah, I like CJ better. I'm not saying I don't think that Young will be a bad quarterback. I also just think he's got a little bit of ways to go, and they're on the uptick
Here's what
certainly.
I'll say. Bryce Young over his career will be a better quarterback than CJ Stroud.
Oh,
Over
can't.
his career. Over
Yeah,
his career.
yeah, no,
Over
no.
his career. He will be a better quarterback than Stroud. Stroud couldn't function last year when he had pressure.
He could function, but I think that was exceptional pressure. I
He
think
also
that
went
offensive
he
line
also
was
went to a trash
as bad
school.
as ours.
He's got that working against him that he went to such a trash
I think that's
university.
just in
I,
your mind.
I use the term university very loosely when I say that.
I think that's just in your head. I really do.
No,
That's
no,
just
no.
I think that's a personal thing. Yeah,
Ain't nothing personal about that. He
yeah.
went to a objectively trash university. Again, using the word university or
I was just thinking
university
objective with
very,
that statement.
very loosely. All right. So the Seahawks end the season week 18 by traveling to the Bay Area to play the San Francisco 49ers. So they got bookend 49er games beginning and end of the season.
I
Are
think
they
they do it.
winning?
I think they win.
Oh man.
I think they win.
So what are they, a 2 seed for you? What's the
In
final
the NFC,
What's
no,
the final record? No, but what's the final
no.
record
Final record one,
for you? You got them winning the NFC West.
two. Yeah, I do have the one in the NFC West. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Sam
6,
Darnold led Seattle
9,
Seahawks
10,
winning
11,
the
12.
NFC West.
He
Come
sure
now.
won the division last year, didn't he?
Yeah, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, a great offensive line, Aaron
No,
Jones.
no, no. It was not a great offensive line last year.
It was
No, it wasn't.
very good one. A very
It's
good
better
one.
than the Seahawks, but that's not saying much. I mean that I mean they
They
lost their
weren't
left
well,
tackle in week
they were
7, and
not
things went
they
downhill.
didn't have no Michael Barrett or Laumea or Olu, that type of dude.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, yeah. But at the end, actually, it kind of did. They kind of
So
had their versions of those
so
guys.
what's the
They
so
got so injured on that offensive line. They actually did. Like they got
having injuries is different though than it just being bad.
the Seahawks absolutely had plenty of injuries. You know how many right tackles we saw?
Yeah, but the starting one isn't very good.
The starting one, Abe Lucas is he was gonna bounce back. I still believe in Abe.
For how
He's
many
got a
weeks?
healthy off
For how many
season.
weeks? What's the wager? For how many weeks? What's the wager
I
this
still
year?
take eight, at least eight. Actually, no. I'll take 9. I'll take 9. At least 9.
Nine
I think he
weeks?
might get.
Starting
Hmm?
9 weeks? In the starting lineup for 9 weeks.
Hmm.
Oh, broken back Abe Lucas.
They sat him. They sat him last time. That really they did you a favor. He just had a stomach ache and they sat him.
Well, again, you're gonna bet on the dude that sat with the stomach ache?
They sat him with a stomach ache.
Hey, my tummy hurts.
I don't really believe they were fully invested in.
They
I think
said they
didn't they.
said it said full a right tackle Abe Lucas, and then in parentheses it said gas.
Yeah, pretty much. It did. It did. They really just sat him for like stomach cramps. It was something stupid. Like it wasn't an actual injury, but I know that by then I believe their playoff chances were already dead.
Hey,
They just
put some tussin on it and get back out there on the field, okay?
that he was not
Put,
the only one that sat. They decided that since
Put some
the playoffs,
Vicks 44, some tussin on it, and get back on the field.
no, I
You know,
don't need. I need him for. I'd rather have him healthy going into this year, which is why I feel better about it. I think it was
right.
okay call. It
I'm
just
taking the under, way under on that one.
I'm sure you are. Also,
All right,
George Pickens, who
so
was supposed to be a guy, ended up playing like I don't know, with 30 snaps for us in total for the year, so that didn't go well. Uh,
uh,
we don't have
so
Laken Tomlinson anymore, which is by default. Amir Stone Forsyth is off this team.
Jake
Just that
Curhan,
name being
Jake
removed from
Curhan.
Jake Curhan is no longer on this roster. I'm telling you, Tino, we're making steps in the right direction. I'm telling you,
All
don't
right,
sleep
Abe
on it.
Lucas ain't one of them. I'm just saying that. So you have them winning in San Francisco in the last week. I have them losing. What is the final? What's the final number for you?
I think I'm at 12. 12 wins
How many?
and 5 losses. One,
12
two,
and 5?
think I got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 12 and 5.
I'm at 8 and 9.
8 and 9. You got them
You know
way worse.
what? They are, listen, the Seahawks team next year is going to be as milk toast as their offensive coordinator, as milk toast as their new left guard, as milk toast as their head coach. That's what
There's
they're
nothing
going to be
milquetoast
next year.
about Gray Zabel. He's probably the most entertaining player at this point
Not to me.
that I've seen in a
Hey,
long time.
listen,
Rookie.
I live in a community full of Ray Zables. That's milk toast to me.
But
Okay.
they haven't been on the Seahawks. I mean, that's different. They haven't been on the Seahawks. They certainly have been on the offensive line. This offensive line has had the personality of a cactus.
It's true.
They have.
It's true. All right. So I think they missed the playoffs. I think they probably finished third or fourth in the NFC West. You think they're going 12 and 5 and winning the division.
They'll
I
probably
hope
be.
you're right. I hope you're right.
They'll probably be somewhere in the middle. Is my guess.
I sincerely hope you're right. Um,
I think they
but
take a step forward from 10 wins.
that also means Sam Darnold's coming back
Mhm.
for in
I
2026.
told you I don't. If he plays well, I prefer stability, and I prefer Jalen Milrow to have 2 years.
See, I think they're 8 and 9. You might see Milrow by week 15, 16.
That won't happen because McDonald's too much of a competitor.
Yeah, that's why you play Milrow.
I don't think that's how they see him.
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with
They literally went and got Drew Lock as soon as they interviewed him. I think they know he's a multi-year project. If they didn't,
you.
they wouldn't have Drew Lock. They
No, you're
forgot
right.
on this roster, and they
No,
signed
you're
Drew Lock
right.
for 2 years. The
You're right. No,
backup signed for 2 years.
if yes, Milrow is not going to play at the end of the season, like most likely, unless he shows tremendous progress, right?
Yeah,
If he shows out in practice in a way that we're not privy to,
right.
and they start talking him up, then and the season is in the tank, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
it
but
take a yeah.
I think this team is okay. I think it's going to have an elite defense. I think the offensive line is going to be lucky if it gels. And I don't think Sam Darnold is anything more than average. I think we've taken a step back at quarterback versus Geno Smith.
I don't think it's that significant of a step back to be that meaningful. And can you really say it's an elite defense if they can't beat Atlanta, if they can't beat the Panthers? If it's not an elite defense, then you think they're a good defense.
I think they're top 8. I
Elite
think
defenses beat those teams.
no, I think it's top 8, and I think the offense is going to be that bad.
Yeah. I mean, they were still 10. I think they're about as bad as they get last year, and they
Yeah.
still won 10.
You got a broken down Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup is like you bought a what's a nice car? You bought a nice car, but you bought it the 10-year-old version, and it barely runs anymore.
Well, the only thing that going on offense last year was JSN, frankly.
You had the threat of DK. The
That
threat of DK.
DK was
I didn't
literally,
say
you
you
mean
had
the
DK. I
decoy of
said the
DK?
threat of DK. The
The
threat of DK
decoy.
changes the defense. The threat of DK changes the defense. Who's doing that this year? Don't give me Marquez Valdez Scantling. Please don't.
No, he's not doing that. No, but
Give
I
him
do
a,
think. I
Even
do
if
think
you throw the ball to him 40 yards down the field, he's dropping it.
I think the offense better suits the personnel. This is a intermediate type, and you got intermediate technicians right here.
Who's getting separation?
I think Jason can get separation in the middle, and so can Cooper Cup. Frankly,
It's gonna be more difficult without DK out there.
well, not if you're doing bombs away, yeah. But I
So
think they'll be.
safeties are gonna be how if you were playing defense against the Hawks, calling defense against the Hawks next year, where would you play your safeties?
Well, everybody's doing 2 out right now. That most teams are playing just universally right now.
Okay,
That's
you
the
might
thing.
play too
They're
high,
trying to
but
take away the explosives.
you may also be able to push your both safeties forward a couple yards because you're not scared of anything behind you, right? You can change the complexion of your too high by pushing them forward, which takes away some of those intermediate routes because you're giving your safeties a couple more steps to get there. I just
But if they're open, then
MVS
if they're
MVS
open,
is not that guy.
if they're
MVS is
open,
not that.
if he's open, I mean, MBS is not somebody who you're going to game plan for. But if you're already using your safeties to take away Cooper Cup and JSN, I think MBS can get you an
I
open,
don't,
like deep shot.
on
He
occasion.
can do that.
I'm just saying, as you move safeties closer up to the line of scrimmage, if they can, that's not good for JSN and Cooper getting separation. It's just not. And I think this offense is going to condense. It's going to put more emphasis on the running game, right? But now you're running against a bigger box, more guys in the box potentially if they're not scared. I think the Seahawks are one of the few teams you don't have to play too high against because you're not worried, right? If they're running against 8-man boxes now with an inexperienced offensive line, that's not good either, right? If you have more congestion in the intermediate and in the short because the safeties are playing closer, now Sam Darnold is dealing with another defender. We all know he likes to throw to the other team. So I don't know. I'm nervous about that. I'm super nervous about the offensive line. I'm super nervous about the field being condensed without a true deep threat. I don't think it's the right mix, and I'm not sold on Kubiak being a good coordinator. So I think there's a ton of questions about this offense. They might go into Carolina and hold Carolina to 6 points and lose 6-3. Right? That's kind of where my brain is.
Yeah, no, I just I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening. I will give you that MVS is not a star by any means, but in terms of if you're using him to help be a threat, I think he's a threat. I think you don't have to game plan for him, but if you don't game plan for him, I think that's when he'll be able to take advantage of that.
Hold
Which
on.
if you're not doing
We're gonna end.
if you're not doing too high
Let's
shell,
end with this.
opens up with that.
So Valdez Scantling, best. So he's never gone over 700 yards. He had one season with 6 touchdowns, one season with four. The rest were three and below. He does
How many games did he
average
play last year?
8, and he
I
had
said
17. He had 17 receptions in 8 games.
I
He
said
had two receptions in 6 games. Oh no, excuse me. He played 14 games. He played for two teams. 14 games, 19 receptions. Previous year, 16 games, 21 receptions. Previous year, 17 games, 42 receptions, which is his career high. So clearly, but he's never averaged less than 13 yards per catch, and he had a 20.9 yards per catch season in 2020. Other thing, your deep threat, who hasn't put up very big numbers, but is there to take the top off the defense. You know how old he is?
so. To my MVS, I know he's old as dirt. I mean that doesn't really matter.
He's
Because
30.
again, I'm not looking for people to game plan for him. No, I'm not saying he's a game plan around guy. I'm saying he's a guy that if you don't game plan, can be a threat to take advantage of.
All right, let's say so.
I think he can make teams pay just enough. That's all
I
you
mean,
need. That's all you
mm,
need. You don't have to live on the deep ball. I don't think you need that.
the threat
I think
has to be
he's
there.
a
The
threat.
threat. I think we are going to see what the impact of DK Metcalf was on opposing defenses very quickly. Very quickly.
I believe more in the offense than you do. So that's I think what it comes down to.
I hope it's good.
I think the offense doesn't have to, doesn't necessitate around needing it.
I hope it's good, and I hope they can run the ball.
They'll be
If
able to
they can
run the
run the ball, if they can run the ball, then yes. But they also are miscast with the running backs they have. Kenneth Walker's not a one cut, you know, outside zone type of dude.
I think he
He's
can
not.
really thrive in this. I really think he can really thrive
If he is aggressive, but he's not. He likes to dance.
because he doesn't have any holes.
All right, we'll end there. That's a
You
good
try
place to
running
end.
behind a rhino and see what happens, man.
That's a
Leave
good.
Kenneth Walker alone.
That's a good place to end it.
All right, all right. Um, Tino, tell the folks where they can find you.
All right, Tino Junior 20 on Blue Sky, same as always. Uh, you know, chop it up about fantasy baseball if you want. Certainly talk about the Seahawks if you like as well. Um, but just yeah, grinding this Mariners season, having a good time with that fantasy baseball. But football is in season 365 days a year. Happy to talk about that as well.
All right. Give us a like or a follow if you are listening on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate that. Follow us on X at Seahawks360 Pod, and you can find us on Blue Sky at Seahawks360. In the meantime, that's it. That's all the time we have for today. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.